Your biological engine is currently stalling on a dopamine-induced mirage. Look at your productivity spikes, those short-lived bursts of energy that occur after you watch a motivational video or read an inspiring quote, only to vanish 48 hours later when the physical reality of the work sets in. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal consistency liquidation. The Matrix has successfully rebranded emotional fluctuance as motivation. You believe that by waiting to feel like it, you are being authentic to your state, but in the terminal of the high-performance grid, you are merely proving that you are a slave to your internal chemistry. You are a biological weather vane, turning whichever way the wind of your mood blows, while the true architect remains a monolith of unshakable automated output. Your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the amateur, the male who requires a vibe to function, while the professional requires only a clock. The system doesn't want your discipline, it wants your motivation to be the intermittent fuel that keeps you in a cycle of perpetual starting and stopping. Thousands of years ago, survival was not a feeling, it was a rhythmic, mechanical necessity. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that hunger didn't care about inspiration. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the unbroken chain. He didn't wait for a peak state to sharpen his spear or track the herd. He performed these actions as a biological function, as integrated into his existence as breathing. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of algorithmic dominance, the understanding that the one who can perform at 80% capacity every single day will eventually annihilate the one who performs at 110% only when they feel good. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be managed by emotion. He possessed a mind that treated resistance as a signal to accelerate, not a reason to pause. He understood that the moment you negotiate with your own comfort, you have surrendered your apex signature. His existence was a monolith of cold, repetitive, and lethal execution that left no room for the luxury of feeling ready. To crack the discipline code, you must first become psychologically automated, a machine that operates beyond the reach of its own feelings. The discipline code is the implementation of the collar of the unyielding machine for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be passionate and inspired, words that mean unreliable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the dopamine grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of motivation hooks, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being emotionally inert. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for the spark. Inspiration is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute discipline is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the neurochemical radar. Use the temporal noose of the scheduled life to force your biology into a state of unconditional execution. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current emotional high. The Matrix cannot simulate the output of a man who has successfully deleted the choice to stop. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to feel motivated is the knot. Every day you skip because you aren't feeling it is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total internal audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own chemical fluctuations. You must perform a hard reset of the action instincts. Stop being inspired, the industrial waste designed to keep you in a state of perpetual starting over. Stop participating in their self-help ceremonies, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that changing your mindset is a substitute for moving your hands. Stop using their emotional protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant peak state failure. You must prune your life of mood parasites. If an action requires you to feel good to be performed, the action is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the routine. Command: activate the protocol or be the dust. The neural interface of your performance capacity is currently suffering from incentive overload. Look at your reward mapping. The moment you realize that you're only capable of pushing yourself when there is a treat or a result immediately visible on the horizon. You are a biological unit undergoing a total internal authority drain. The Matrix has effectively replaced your primal drive with a systemic reward loop. You believe that by visualizing success, you are manifesting your future, but in the terminal of the high-stakes execution grid, you are merely providing the neural map of your own dependency on external validation. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into mental rehearsal and dopamine chasing, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his indifference to rewards into a biological steamroller that flattens every obstacle regardless of the payoff. The system doesn't want your consistency, it wants your ambition to be a variable that it can turn on and off by adjusting the bait. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could survive the middle desert. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that the goal was a shadow, but the march was the reality. He mastered primal grounding by becoming a biological algorithm, a figure whose feet moved forward even when his eyes were blinded and his stomach was empty. He understood that to negotiate with fatigue is to acknowledge the master. If you are listening to your body's plea to take a break to avoid burnout, you are acknowledging that your physical vessel is the architect and your will is the component. His biological superiority was built on the foundation of systemic desensitization. He knew that the human brain is a machine that runs on feedback loops, and by refusing to acknowledge pain or boredom as valid inputs, he accessed a biological advantage that the herd could not compute. He was a master of the visual rage of the unstoppable march, the ability to maintain a lethal, rhythmic pace while the rest of the tribe collapsed from emotional fatigue. To be a master, you must first become psychologically deaf to the internal voice that asks, "Is it worth it?" The discipline code is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The matrix wants you to be passionate and outcome-oriented, words that mean harvestable and fragile. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the purpose grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of meaning hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to meaning. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for finding your why. Purpose is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological momentum. Use the temporal noose of the absolute standard to drive your biology into a state of functional inevitability. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current level of inspiration. The one who can go the longest without checking his progress is the one who controls the end result. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a breakthrough is the knot. Every rest day you take because you lost the spark is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the discipline rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the validation sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural habit reset. Stop being passionate, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of motivational support. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of dreamers. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If an activity requires you to be inspired, to be effective, the activity is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the repetition. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is automated by choice and sovereign by design. Command: automate the struggle or be consumed by it. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of reactionary performance. Look at your willpower threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because the novelty of a new project has worn off and the visual rage of the repetitive grind has finally settled in. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex consistency with a series of emotional highs disguised as finding your passion. You no longer seek to dominate your own schedule through unmoving discipline. You seek to be inspired. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the enthusiast. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in a vision board while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your excitement as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to derail through your own boredom. The system doesn't want your automation. It wants your motivation to be the foundation of its control over your energy. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of a storm of monotonous labor. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of biological inevitability. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose actions were his own property and whose discipline was the only law. He understood that to seek inspiration is to confess a lack of internal authority. If you are participating in the self-help script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that your state of mind is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to adapt to his output. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the boredom probes of the rival and see only the weakness they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on novelty loops, and by cutting the need for novelty, he triggered a biological rebirth in his own power. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need to feel like doing it. The discipline code is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The matrix wants you to be emotional and connected, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the routine. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of mood control nodes, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical, cold contempt for mainstream mindset advice. Motivation is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological momentum. Use the temporal noose of total informational and emotional starvation to drive the system's influence out of your work cycles. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their enthusiasm. You are not trying, you are deleting the choice. The one who can go the longest without checking the vibe is the one who controls the result. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a spark is the knot. Every break you take to recharge your inspiration is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final discipline imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological inevitability. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable routine. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a habit, a technology, or a relationship requires you to be motivated to engage, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your consistency is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek passion. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own automation, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.